We were gods once, Beleriand. Did you know that? The spark burned so much brighter then. We willed our desires upon the worlds, and the worlds obeyed. And then, the catastrophe on Dominaria, and we are less, Beleriand. Less than we were, and less than we will be. Nicol Bolas, from the novel Agents of Artifice. Across the boundless realms of the multiverse exists a group of individuals born with an innate power known as a spark. These individuals make up a small percent of any given race, and within them lies a tiny fragment of the blind eternities, a piece of the essence between worlds, bound to their very soul. For most of the beings that possess a spark, their lives will continue as normal. Nothing extraordinary will occur, and they will remain a typical member of their race. But for an even rarer few, the spark can ignite. The method of a spark igniting varies from individual to individual. Typically, it is triggered by some traumatic experience or great exposure to mana, but other methods are known to cause the ignition. When the spark does ignite, the individual in question fully awakens as a planeswalker, a being capable of moving between the countless infinite realms of the multiverse. With minimal effort, they are now able to travel from plane to plane, becoming a pioneer of the stars. The ignition of a spark granted more than just the ability to travel between worlds. Planeswalkers were effectively ageless, were able to recover from most injuries, and could freely change their appearance at will. The spark turned these people into living gods, capable of wielding great magic limited only by their knowledge and imagination. More than just mages, these planeswalkers were figures of destiny. For tens of thousands of years, planeswalkers shaped the history of the multiverse. Their actions often had great and terrible consequences for anyone they encountered. Whether it be a devastating war, the creation of new planes, or the utter destruction of old ones, over the eons, planeswalkers have left great marks on the multiverse. But all things change, and not even the greatest powers last forever. When 8 major temporal rifts and countless minor ones opened in the skies above Dominaria, they marked the end of days. These rifts, wounds in the very fabric of reality, were the end result of cataclysmic events. The damage they would cause doomed not only this world, but through a chain reaction, every plane in the multiverse. In order to prevent the destruction of all reality, several different planeswalkers intervened at great cost to seal the rifts and mend the damage they inflicted on Dominaria. Teferi would sacrifice his spark to close the Shivan Rift. Jeska, under the influence of Leshrac the Nightwalker, would close the Zhalfir Rift using Radha as a conduit for her power. Freyalise sacrificed her spark and her life to close the Rift of Skyshroud, dooming her forest, but mending the temporal damage. Lord Windgrace would sacrifice his spark to close the rift over Urborg, and gave up his life to bind his spirit to the land itself. The damage to the Tolarian Rift was too great, and Karn needed to travel back in time to undo the damage in the past, giving up his spark in the process. The Yavimaya Rift was the second to be closed by Jeska, using up the last of Radha's energy to seal it, and preventing Radha from ever becoming a planeswalker herself. The Madaran Rift was closed only after a great battle between Leshrac and Nicol Bolas concluded. Bolas would use the Nightwalker's spark and life force to close the rift, killing Leshrac for good. And finally, the Otarian Rift was closed when Jeska sacrificed herself to mend the damage. When the final rift over Otaria was repaired, all other minor rifts closed. Mana flowed back into Dominaria, and the world could heal. The Great Mending had begun, and it would bring great change not only to Dominaria, but to the whole of the multiverse. In the aftermath of the temporal crisis, it seems as though the boundaries between planes had been reinforced. Before the Mending, it was possible for sufficiently powerful individuals to travel between worlds, even without the aid of a Planeswalker's spark. Both Urza and the Phyrexians had created devices capable of transporting people between planes. The Weatherlight, famously, was a skyship capable of easily transporting both itself and its crew between the realms. Now, it seems that only Planeswalkers are capable of moving between worlds, and all previous interplanar travel has simply ceased to function. The Weatherlight is no longer capable of taking its passengers to other planes, and what's more, new interplanar technology appears to be extremely limited in its capabilities. The planar bridge developed by Rashmi on Kaladesh seems to only be capable of transporting inorganic objects to other planes. Planeswalkers may pass through, but other life cannot. Before the Mending, it seemed that it was possible for any mage to siphon mana from another plane, provided they had properly attuned themselves to the source. Several members of the Weatherlight crew were able to do this on occasion. Now, only those in possession of a spark are able to call on mana from other worlds. In addition, the summoning of beings from other planes has changed. Before the Mending, Planeswalkers were able to physically call forth allies across the Blind Eternities. Baron Sengir was trapped on Olgrotha due to such a summoning. Now it seems, calling forth an ally merely creates a mystical duplicate to fight on your behalf. Planeswalkers in general appear to have changed greatly after the events of the Mending. No longer were they innately immortal, shape-shifting gods with access to nigh infinite magical power. In the 60 years since the events of the temporal crisis, the power of the spark has diminished greatly. Now it seems, the spark primarily grants Planeswalkers the ability to walk between worlds. Secondly, they gain a boost in their magical capabilities, but it is nowhere near as vast as it was before. No longer are Planeswalkers able to pull off world-shattering feats like they could naturally accomplish before. No longer is Karn capable of creating a new plane from nothing. Teferi no longer possesses the power to phase Zhalfir back into existence, and Sorin now cannot muster the power necessary to forge Avacyn anew. It must be stressed that it is still possible for a Planeswalker to gain greater power, even now. Liliana, for instance, was able to regain much of her old power, and more, through her demonic deals and use of the Chain Veil. In addition, older Planeswalkers still retained their mystic knowledge and their bonds to other planes after the Mending, leaving them phenomenally skilled and powerful mages. While Sorin is no longer capable of creating an Archangel from scratch, he is still able to disintegrate an opponent with a snap of his fingers. On the whole, Planeswalkers have lost much of their godlike power. Though they still retain the ability to travel between worlds, they have changed much from what they were before. One Planeswalker in particular would find these changes unacceptable. In the aftermath of the Mending, Nicol Bolas was absolutely furious at the loss of much of his power. He would not stop, would not rest, until he regained what he lost. Bolas's quest for power would see him ravage multiple worlds and weave a plan that spanned decades in an attempt to become a god once again. His ambition was one that could not be stopped, and his schemes were so great that they caused great devastation across the multiverse, ultimately culminating in the devastating War of the Spark. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like or share this video with your friends. If you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button, you'll be notified whenever I upload new content. While you're here, why not give one of my other lore videos a watch? You may just enjoy them. Finally, this video was a viewer request. If you have any suggestions for a topic you'd like me to discuss, feel free to let me know in the comments section below. Thank you again and have a great day.